So in this episode today, I'm going to be diving deep into how emotions shape our habits and the actions we take, right? So when we're trying to get healthy, we're either taking actions towards helping that or not. And I'm going to be talking about how tapping and EFT, emotional freedom techniques, can help you to release emotions so that you can act in a way that aligns with your goals. So if you've ever felt stuck in frustration, shame, or stress, and turn to food for comfort, then this is for you. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the brain science behind that emotional eating, how tapping calms our nervous system. And also, I newly got certified in picture tapping, and that's a really fun way to add another layer of healing work. Hi friends, and welcome to the Healthy Beyond 40 show. I'm Michelle, mama of 4 and military wife, and I'm passionate about helping women get healthy from the inside out so they can feel better and live their best life. Do you feel like you're struggling to lose weight and get in shape? If you're ready to develop healthier habits, exercise consistently, and lose weight sustainably, then you're in the right place. I combine my expertise from my doctorate in physical therapy to my experience as a health coach, personal trainer, and yoga teacher to bring you actionable steps for a healthy lifestyle. No magic pill here, so lace up those shoes and get moving. All right, so let's dive into this episode today, all about emotions and dealing with emotions, something most of us probably try to avoid. I know that used to be me too. So I'm really going to be tying it into how dealing with our emotions can actually help with our weight loss, with our stress, and our emotional eating by helping you release emotions that keep you stuck. Literally, emotions can sort of be stuck in our body. So let's be honest, most of us know what we should do when it comes to our health, like our eating and our exercise. We know that we should eat better or move more, get sleep. We know some of those specifics. But when we're overwhelmed, stressed, or frustrated, we don't always act the way we would like to. And so this isn't because of willpower. It's about what's going on emotionally in your nervous system and having the right tools to help you. So when you're stuck in emotions like shame, frustration, guilt, maybe you feel guilty about eating something you didn't want to, or boredom, your brain is not in the rational decision-making mode. So behind our forehead, we have our prefrontal cortex, and this is like the highest functioning part of our brain. It doesn't fully develop till, I think they say around 25-ish. And we can't use that part of our brain when we're stuck in that emotional part. So when we're flooded with frustration, guilt, boredom, that prefrontal cortex is not fully online. So when we get triggered, let's say emotionally we're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, that fear center of our brain lights up. And then we either go into fight, like we're ready to fight someone off, flight, we run away, or we freeze, we're stuck. So that logical thinking goes offline. And then when that happens, we might feel like the best thing to do is just to grab that donut because it tastes good, or whatever snack is in front of us. I'm not really going to think if I'm hungry. I just know that a little bit of food is going to give me a dopamine hit and I'm going to feel a little bit better. I definitely don't need to do that workout. I can skip that. So we start to lose this higher thinking part of our brain, and that emotional brain just takes over. So it's not that you're lazy or you're weak, but your brain is just reacting to this emotional stress. So again, when we have the tools to help deal with this emotional stress, because it's going to keep popping up, we're never going to get to a place in our life where things don't happen or things don't bother us. But when we have the tools and we know how to use those tools, we don't react as much. We're able to calm down a lot quicker. We're able to move into that thinking part of our brain a lot quicker. So when we use EFT, and that stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, and it's plural because there's more than one technique to do. It's really just a simple tool that you're tapping on specific acupressure points, and then we're using specific thoughts or feelings that you are having while we're tapping on those points, and we're creating some safety in your body. So, and literally just doing the tapping points, even without any words, can be very calming. So it starts to send a calming signal to the brain. So we're getting out of that emotional brain and we're just calming the body. And so there's even research that shows that EFT can lower cortisol, which is our stress hormone. And it helps to sort of bring us back into that self-regulation, that balanced state. So our body starts to feel safe. And so a lot of times our body's feeling a threat, even though it may not be like a tiger is chasing us or these things that used to happen long ago, but not really today. But even our body can start to feel unsafe when we feel any threat. Maybe somebody gave us a mean look. Maybe our kid is like throwing another fit, and it makes our body feel unsafe. And sometimes we're not always consciously aware of this, but it can be happening subconsciously. But when we can think clearly and get out of that emotional brain, calm our body, calm the thoughts going in on our brain, because so often, you guys know we have like so many thoughts, and if we really stop to think about it, a lot of those thoughts sometimes aren't even true. And especially some of those that we play over and over again aren't necessarily true, but they can keep feeding that emotion. So our thoughts that we have are going to create our emotions or our feelings that we have. So for example, if I keep thinking like, oh my goodness, like that donut looks so good, it's shiny, like it's going to taste so good. If I keep thinking that thought, that's going to increase an urge or craving. It's going to give me a feeling of higher desire for that donut. And eventually I'm probably going to give in. So you can see how the thought that I'm having creates that emotion or feeling and will result in an action. And so when we can start to lower the emotional intensity in our body and start to change our thoughts, then we can act differently. And let me tell you guys, we can change our thoughts. I do a lot of work with my clients and even on myself about working to change these thoughts. So I'll give you some examples of how I use tapping. So one, when there's something like going on that's bothering me, I will use typically what they call like basic EFT. So I'm working through my specific emotion, where I'm feeling that emotion in my body, and that specific thought about that snapshot in time. Like sometimes with EFT, especially if you're using tapping scripts from somewhere else, they're very general, and that doesn't always help us as much. So for example, my husband's military, for those that don't know, and we recently moved to Oklahoma, probably about 6 months ago, but I had to go to a new dentist here, and I've had not great experiences in the past. Where we lived previously for 2 years, I've had like my favorite dentist, so I was like so sad to leave them. And so I go to this new dentist. It was not a good experience. Like they were not nice. They were not kind. It just was not good. And they said like I had 4 cavities, which I don't even think is true. I'm like waiting another month or 2 and I'm going to go somewhere else. But I've been in an experience before where it felt like a dentist always kept finding cavities in my mouth. And I just don't think that was true, because dentists do make more money when they do more dental work. So it was just a really bad experience. So I had to come home and do some tapping on that because I was frustrated. I was also feeling really sad that I had to leave this like really amazing dentist that I had in Arizona. I was also feeling sad that, you know, when we move, it's just really hard to find like your eye doctor, your dentist, someone to cut your hair, like all these different people. And so I used tapping to work through all those different emotions and thoughts that I were having about that. And so then on the other side, I was feeling much better. I wasn't staying stuck in a rabbit hole. I wasn't fearful of this new dentist I'm going to go try next. I was able to release all that instead of feeling all that anxiety and keeping it trapped in my body. And I'm definitely one that's prone to more anxiety. So that's one way I use tapping. Another way I use tapping is you don't want to use tapping just for this, but you can sort of use it in an affirmation way. So when I have done tapping, and sometimes I get like a new thought from that that's truer, like with the dentist example, like, okay, like this new dentist I'm going to go to next, I researched a little bit more and found some really positive things. I know they are not quick to say people have cavities. So I was able to say like, okay, I'm really hopeful about going to this next dentist. And I can also stand up for myself if it doesn't feel right. And that's what I did in the last example too. I'm probably someone a little more hesitant to like stand up and confront people. So I have to like reaffirm that to myself so I can go forward with those new thoughts. So I might do some tapping in the morning just on those points, reaffirming those thoughts that I believe are true. So that can be a great way to use tapping, but so many people just want to use tapping for like positive thoughts and positive things, but really the chunk of tapping you want to use to work through emotions and thoughts that you're having. Sometimes why I am praying, I will just tap on the points as an extra way of calming my body. Sometimes if I am like having maybe more of a harder conversation with someone, or like maybe something's a little confrontational between me and my husband, there's different tapping points like on your finger and other parts of your body. So I might just find one tapping point and use that. And it's a way to like calm my body and keep me in a good place. So those are some different ways that I use it. And if you are like sort of a DIYer, I have a course called the Self-Coaching System. And in this course, I teach you how to use EFT for yourself so that you guys can have these tools. I also, in that course, teach the model, which is a great way to do mindset and thought work to sort of change those thoughts that aren't necessarily 100% true. And it's really a super affordable way to learn tapping the correct way. Because those tapping scripts you might find online, they may help you feel better, but they're not necessarily going to help you process events like I gave you with that dentist and other things that come up. So if you guys want to check that out, there's going to be a link in the description where you guys can look into that course and see if it's a fit for you. I also want to give another example. Someone I was talking to recently, she was working through the feeling of shame, which I find is very common, especially when it comes to food, like shame or guilt around eating something. And so she had eaten something that she didn't plan to. And then it just brought up old feelings, like she felt like she failed again. She couldn't trust herself. She was just really holding on to the shame and guilt. And this was my first time tapping with her. And so just working through a very specific example that she gave, because again, we don't want most of the time in tapping, if we can narrow in on a specific event, like I could take a picture of that event and I'm using those words, then that helps your body to narrow in, right? Because if we're trying to release all the times we felt shame or guilt around eating, like that's probably a lot and it's going to be overwhelming to our body and we're not going to be able to clear it. But we can clear events one by one. And so with her, we just tapped once on this event and she started out with moderate distress. And by the end, it was at a 0. That shame had gone away and she felt calm and clear. And so for some people, it's going to go like that from whatever level down to a 0. Some people, it still might not completely clear right away. It might have a little bit of feeling left. And some people just sort of need like a few days to fully release that. So everybody sort of processes their feelings, emotions, and works through things at a different pace. And that's okay. I actually tend to be someone like when I first started doing tapping, we use numbers, a level of distress. So 0 to 10, how strong does this emotion feel? And especially when I started, I feel now that I've done it for quite a bit longer, I can clear, but I would like almost never go down to like a 0. I'd be a 1, 2, maybe a 3. And sometimes I work with people and they're right down to a 0. But sometimes I felt like I just needed like a little more time to trust it, like a couple more days for that to go away. So there's no right or wrong. We're all a little different. But if we can lower that level of distress, it makes such a huge difference. So I'm going to share a few more common issues that I see that EFT really helps with. Just like I was talking, that shame or guilt around eating something that you didn't want to. Like how many of us have held on to, like, I ate that extra piece of pizza, I went and ate some ice cream when I shouldn't have, and we're holding on to that guilt. We're feeling bad about ourselves. And if we can release that guilt, it gives us so much more freedom and it opens up possibilities to the future for us to do something different. It can also help with body image issues. So if you're struggling on the way you see your body, it can really help to assist seeing yourself in a more positive way. With one of my clients, we used tapping and we worked around her in a bathing suit. So as it's summer here, like she had more confidence in her bathing suit and literally nothing changed about her body. But working through her emotions and the way she was feeling about it and her thoughts, she was able to release that. Like our thoughts are so powerful. You know, even like anorexic people who are so skinny, it looks gross to us. They can look in the mirror And they don't see that. They see someone who is fat and overweight. And that's obviously coming from their thoughts. And so that is not going to be most of us, but you can see how our thoughts that we're thinking about ourselves are creating our feelings. So we can change the way we are thinking about things. And EFT gives us the power to release some of that emotional intensity so we can see things differently. So tapping is also great if you're feeling stuck or not sure about a decision that you need to make. So whether this is with your health or in relationships, personal growth, career, tapping can really help you to get unstuck and see things a lot clearer. Tapping is also really great for sugar cravings. So just like I was saying how I use tapping, there's different spots on your fingers, or you can have different spots on your body. So if you're in the middle of something and you're getting this craving for a sweet, you can use tapping to just sort of bring down that emotional intensity in a moment. And then you can also work through, just like I gave the example with the dentist, you can use EFT to work through specific times where you had that sugar craving. And when you can release some of that intensity, and sometimes EFT might lead us back to further events in your life. And when you can release those, then you have more freedom. And EFT is just really great for stress. So feeling overwhelmed, it really helps to calm our mind and body and to handle stress better. So the key is when you release the emotion, you're going to be in a lot more freedom. So if you're having sugar cravings, when you release that emotion, that craving or urge often starts to fade too, and you have more control and more peace. So I know it can feel uncomfortable to reach out for help, especially if you're used to figuring things out on your own. But if you're feeling stuck, you're not where you want to be, and you're tired of spinning your wheels, it might be time to try something different. So sometimes just talking through with someone can be the shift that starts to change everything for you. So I want to offer you guys all a free 25-minute call to see if this kind of work, whether this is the EFT tapping or just health coaching and sort of life coaching in general, is a good fit for you. So there's no pressure, there's no sales pitch. This is just a conversation to see what your goals are, where you are, and if EFT might be something that would be helpful for you to clear some of those emotions so you can make choices and move forward in the direction that you want to. There's going to be a link down below where you can schedule a free call. I would love to chat with you guys and hear from you. All right. The other thing I want to share is I just got newly certified in picture tapping. So I'm super excited about this because you can use the tapping with it. So tapping on the points, but you get to sort of draw, and this is not art, but you get to draw your emotions. So it's a great way for the subconscious mind to just release what's in there. So instead of using words, because sometimes our words can be a barrier, or sometimes we don't feel comfortable talking about something, you can literally draw in images how the issue makes you feel. And then we tap while looking at the image, just describing how it looks. So we're not analyzing the picture. We're just describing how it looks. There is a yellow circle in the left-hand corner. There is a long black line and then a small black line under it. Whatever it is, we just describe the picture. And this is great to use with kids, adults, anybody, but a really powerful way to just release stuff. And it's also a great tool to learn how to use on your own. So I know if I'm having a problem, I do like to sometimes talk things out, verbally talk it out, or even journaling, write it out, get it out. But the picture tapping can be a great tool to use on your own where you don't have to talk with someone. So when you don't have that ability to talk to someone, it's a great way to be able to draw pictures and release stuff and work through it. So you draw multiple pictures while you're doing the picture tapping, and it allows your body to process whatever is going on. So I've gotten to do quite a few sessions with people, and it's been fun to just see them work through that process. And I even had a client who I had done some normal EFT tapping with her, and we did the picture tapping, and she was able to release a pretty big thing that she had been holding onto doing the picture tapping. So it can be really powerful. So if you're feeling stuck emotional or just tired of the same pattern that you're in, tapping can be a great way to do something different and to give you a way out from those feelings. So we're not like forcing change, but we're calming our nervous system and we're sort of rewiring some of those thoughts and patterns that we have in our brain. And we're releasing some of those past things that we're reacting out of. So again, if you guys are curious about EFT, there's sort of two options here. One, you can check out my course, the self-coaching system that teaches you how to do tapping in it, or you can just set up that free call with me if you would like to do some one-on-one EFT coaching and see if that's a fit for you. All right, friends, I hope that you guys all have a great week. I hope that this was helpful, and really go forward in this week, noticing what emotions come up for you and noticing if those emotions are changing the way you act. And if you sort of feel stuck in some of them, or if you have thoughts that keep ruminating in your head that you can't let go of, just start to get awareness this week of what those are. All right, friends, keep on moving. I hope you all are doing well.